The Australian government describes the proposed ban as world-leading. Albanese said the ban, which will apply to sites such as X, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, is intended to shield children from the harms of social media. This is a global issue, and we want young Australians to experience childhood. We want parents to have peace of mind, he stated on Thursday. The new legislation establishes a framework for the ban. Hello, and welcome to Australia Headway, your #1 reliable source on hottest news in Australia. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. However, the 17-page document, which is slated to be sent to the Senate next week, lacks detail. Instead, it will be up to the nation's internet regulator, the eSafety Commissioner, to figure out how to implement and enforce the restrictions, which will not go into effect for at least a year after legislation is enacted. According to the bill, the ban will apply to all minors under 16, with no exceptions for current users or those with parental consent. I felt really scared, to be honest, says James, describing an encounter on Snapchat that made him wonder if it was safe to go to school. The 12-year-old Australian youngster had a fight with a friend, so one night before bed, he added him to a group chat with 2 older teens. Almost immediately, his phone started blowing up with a series of violent texts. One of them sounded like he was probably 17, James told the BBC. He emailed me videos with a machete, waving it around. Then there were audio messages informing me that they were going to catch and stab me. James, not his real name, first joined Snapchat when he was 10 years old, when a classmate advised that everyone in their buddy circle download the app. However, after informing his parents about his cyberbullying experience, which was eventually rectified by his school, James deleted his account. His mother, Emma, who also uses a pseudonym, describes his experience as a cautionary story that demonstrates why the Australian government's planned social media ban on minors under the age of 16 is vital. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese described the measures as world-leading after they were tabled in Parliament's lower house on Thursday. While many parents have hailed the idea, several experts have questioned whether children should, or even can, be prohibited from using social media and what the consequences may be. eSafety Commissioner Julie Inman-Grant has acknowledged the enormous difficulty her office will face in implementing the prohibition, stating that technology change is always going to outpace policy. It will always be fluid, which is why regulators like eSafety must be adaptable, she told BBC Radio 5 Live. However, Ms. Inman-Grant has expressed reservations about the primary assumption underlying the government's strategy, which is that there is a direct link between social media use and worsening mental health. I would say that the evidence base is not settled at all, she added, citing research from her own office that revealed that some of the most vulnerable groups, such as LGBTQ+ or First Nations youth, feel more themselves online than they do in the real world. This sentiment is shared by Lucas Lane, 15, who owns an internet business that sells nail paint to males. This ban destroys my friendships and the ability to make people feel seen, says the Perth teenager to the BBC. Ms. Inman-Grant would want to see tech companies clean up their platforms, as well as increased investment in teaching tools to assist young people stay safe online. She uses the analogy of teaching children to swim rather than preventing them from entering the water. We don't fence the ocean, but we create protected swimming environments that provide safeguards and teach important lessons from a young age, she told lawmakers earlier this year. But Emma, who has advocated for the ban through the parent-led Heads Up Alliance, sees things differently. Should we really be wasting our time trying to help kids navigate these difficult systems when tech companies just want them on them all the time, according to her? Or should we just allow them to be kids and learn how to be sociable outside with each other, and then start these discussions later on? Amy Friedlander, a mother of 3 with the Wait Mate campaign, which urges parents to wait giving their children smartphones, agrees. We cannot disregard the benefits that technology has brought into our lives. There are numerous benefits, but we haven't fully addressed the impact it is having on minds that aren't ready for it. Over 100 Australian academics have criticized the ban as too blunt an instrument and said that it contradicts UN guidance, which calls for states to ensure young people have safe access to digital spaces. It has also failed to gain the support of a nonpartisan parliamentary committee investigating the effects of social media on adolescents. Instead, the committee suggested that tech companies face stricter regulations. To address some of these concerns, the government says it will eventually enact digital duty of care rules that will require internet businesses to prioritize customer safety. Joanne Orlando, a digital behavior researcher, contends that while a ban could be part of a strategy, it absolutely cannot be the entire strategy. She believes that the biggest piece of the puzzle should be teaching children to think critically about the content they see in their feeds and how they use social media. The government has already invested $6 million Australian dollars since 2022 to create free digital literacy tools to try to accomplish this. However, data indicates that many young Australians are not receiving regular instruction. Ms. Orlando and other experts warn that there are considerable challenges to make the age verification technology required to enforce the ban effective and safe, given the enormous risks associated with possibly storing all Australians' identification credentials online. The administration has stated that it intends to address that issue through age verification testing and wants to present a report by mid-next year. Australia is far from the first country to attempt to limit how young people access specific websites or platforms online. South Korea introduced a shutdown law in 2011 that prohibited minors under the age of 16 from playing internet games between 22:30 and 6 o'clock, but the laws were eventually repealed due to the need to respect the rights of youths. More recently, France enacted regulations mandating social media firms to prevent access to minors under 15 without parental agreement. According to research, nearly half of users were able to circumvent the block by utilizing a simple VPN. A statute similar to Australia's in the U.S. state of Utah was struck down by a federal judge who deemed it unconstitutional. Albanese admits that Australia's idea may not be flawless, and if it goes through Parliament, it will be open to revision. We all know technology moves fast, and some people will try to find ways around these new laws, but that is not a reason to ignore the responsibility that we have, he told members of Congress. However, for moms like Emma and Ms. Friedlander, who have advocated for the changes, the message sent by the prohibition is most important.